Former AG Bill Barr, and good morning to you. Janet Yellen says it's an area of cooperation, which I think is kind of curious. You say the CCP is knee-deep in this, not just a bystander.
Right, and this was a bipartisan report. This committee is a bipartisan committee. Both parties, members of both parties signed off on this report. Yeah, I don't blame people for trying to cooperate with China and trying to negotiate. We did, and I don't blame this administration for trying, but it's clear that they're not acting in good faith. And when they do something, it's window dressing. They're knee-deep in this. They're active. The question all along is, are they just bystanders watching this traffic, just don't want to interfere because we're the ones being hurt, or are they active? Sins of commission. And it's clear from this report that they're knee-deep in it. They are complicit in the trafficking, and they're driving the trafficking. They're incentivizing the trafficking.
Can I ask you, why do you think they're doing that?
I think a big part of it is strategic. That is, they believe this weakens the United States. It tells the world that we're a decadent society and that a disciplined society like China is the future. And it distracts us. And so if it's bad for us, it's good for them.
Do you see any improvement between now and November?
In this trafficking?
Yes.
No, I think we're going to have to get much tougher with the Chinese.
Well, that makes it an election issue then.
It should. And you know, look, the Chinese and the Mexicans give us happy talk. They're not cooperating. They're both complicit in the trafficking, in my opinion. And we have to start getting much tougher with them.
Yesterday, they seated 7 jurors total since the Trump hush money trial has begun here in New York City. It's quite a spectacle, quite an event. I know that you think that the prosecution seems far-fetched. Maybe the best way I could, maybe that's the kindest way that I can say that. Your thoughts as to how this is going now that it's underway and what you think about it?
Well, I've said from the beginning, this case is an abomination. You know, it's obviously political. 7 years after he pays hush money to try to come up with this case. It's also, as you say, it's not only far-fetched, they're trying to predicate it on a federal crime, which wasn't prosecuted, and they're wrong about it. This was not a campaign contribution. They're just wrong on the law. But to me, this shows that the real threat to liberty, the real threat to our system, are the excesses of the progressive left. They're perverting the system of justice, and you know that's where the danger lies: the corruption and subversion of our institutions by the left.
I heard you call this hush money case outrageous. And I also know you've been asked many times, you've had your disagreements with the former president. He's the presumptive nominee. We assume he will be the nominee. Will you support him in 2024?
Well, I've said all along, you know, given 2 bad choices, I think it's my duty to pick the person I think would do the least harm to the country. And in my mind, that's I will vote the Republican ticket.
You will.
I will support the Republican ticket. I think the real danger to the country, the real danger to democracy, as I say, is the progressive agenda. And while Trump, and I said, Trump may be playing Russian roulette, but continuation of the Biden administration is national suicide, in my opinion.
Yesterday, the Supreme Court heard a case about obstruction charges against some of the January 6th riot defendants, but it also has an impact possibly on a future legal event that President Trump's going to have to deal with. Listen to Justice Neil Gorsuch yesterday.
Would a sit-in that disrupts a trial or access to a federal courthouse qualify? Would a heckler in today's audience qualify, or at the State of the Union address? Would pulling a fire alarm before a vote qualify?
You're the best at explaining legal arguments and where justices are going to the rest of us who are not lawyers. What should we know?
So before I became AG, I wrote a 19-page memo on this topic. A lot of people were raising this when I was confirmed. I did it as a private citizen, and it was on this provision. And I said it was being carried much too far, and it has to be restricted to the impairment of evidence, like the destruction of documents and things like that. It just can't be used the way they're using it, and it's very comprehensive. And now several courts have agreed, and I think the Supreme Court is going to rule that way.
Wow. If that's the case, then you have hundreds of January 6th defendants who are in jail.
Right.
And the whole idea about this obstruction charge was born out of the Enron disaster of the early 2000s.
Right.
And Jack Smith is also, he has a count against the former president for obstruction.
Right.
What would be the end result of that?
So he's going to try to differentiate that. I think, you know, things like a riot, I think they are going to be let free if the court rules the way I think they should rule on the law. And that's not to say I think that those rioters who broke in are justified. I'm just saying this was a misapplication of the law. What Smith is going to argue is that the effort to enlist the false panels involved the tampering of evidence, the creation of false evidence to present to Congress, and therefore this could be covered by that provision. So he's going to try to differentiate his situation from its application to demonstrators.
In a week from tomorrow, we get the immunity arguments for the Supreme Court as well. I'd like to talk about that next time around.
Yeah,
it's great to have you here in New York. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Knee deep in. Knee deep in. Bystander. Bystander. Sins of commission. Sins of commission. Complicit. Complicit. Decadent. Decadent. Far-fetched. Far-fetched. Abomination. Abomination. Predicate. Predicate. Pervert. Pervert. Subversion. Subversion. Roulette. Roulette. Heckler. Heckler. Impairment. Impairment. Rioter. Rioter. Enlist. Enlist. Tamper. Tamper. Immunity. Immunity.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.